Dr. G. Dennis Campbell. He has been with Lincoln College for many years, and has been one of our great guiding lights up there. He's also curator of the Lincoln College Zoo. That would be the one snake zoo that he has up there, and maybe a couple of iguanas or whatever else you might have up there.
A variety.
We might touch on that. But anyway, Dennis is involved in helping our young people learn about the physical sciences, and with particular emphasis on. We want today to talk about his hopes for an environmental center right up here on Sugar Creek. Welcome, Dr. Campbell.
Thanks, Bill and Judith. It's really a pleasure to be with you again. Now, Bill and I are just as comfortable in a radio studio as we are in the boardroom. He's been out to the creek with me, or a bar too. We can't mention. I'm not sure about you. I keep thinking I'm talking to students every time I'm talking. But so it's always a pleasure to be with you. In fact, it's an honor because we have wonderful conversations. And back to the kudos today. I've always said that the most respectful position I've ever seen is an educator, and you can just see those elements in that situation which you're referring to. Two young science instructors, and both of them having needs, family needs. They having educational needs for the society, and then to make a commitment. One of them looking after another. I hope society will look after both of those gentlemen.
Yeah, one would certainly like to think so. Yeah. Well, Dennis, let's go to Sugar Creek.
Let's go right now. Let's talk about it, and then we'll go.
I've had the privilege, Judith, of being up there with Dennis. Went up shortly after young Judd found that tooth up there, and Dennis helped him pull it out of the ground. And by the way, folks, go over to the Lincoln College Library and take a look at that. That's really something. But anyway, I went up there because I was interested, and I've been to a couple other places with Dennis too, and his projects. We're going to talk about the one in particular. But how does it that you turned out had your students up there in the creek bed?
Well, I have to give all of the credit to one young man, and this is Judd McCullum. He was a freshman student there at Lincoln College. I had met him just the week before class started, about this time, about 5 years ago. He was in an environmental biology class. I told him that I needed to have a trail to a particular area of the creek that I haven't taken my students before, because we go and do an environmental study, different tasks, both biological and physical, chemistry, right there by the creek. That's often new for a lot of our students, never been out to a creek.
A lot of them are inner city students.
That's right. And Judd was one of those outdoors people, one of the local guys. I think he came from Cuba, Illinois, just kind of north of here, northwest. He wanted to help cut the trail. The previous weekend we talked about, Judd, you and I are going to have to come back, and other students, and look along the creek, because I found little bits and pieces of Pleistocene animals, from camels to bison to horses, and even mammoths and mastodon. Well, within 2 days, he walks out in the creek during my lab and picks up the largest woolly mammoth tusk ever found in the world.
Think of that.
And so we've now, and we've had it all. Scientists just jumped onto the scene then, and we've had some wonderful studies since. We've had some radio dating of the tusk, and it's one of the last mammoths on Earth. They pretty much become extinct within about 600 years after, and affectionately, we got two Judds. Judd is a former student of ours, and we got Judd the mammoth. So it's been real fun talking about Judd, but I have to make the distinction, student or mammoth. But Judd the mammoth is world-renowned now for quite a few superlatives.
Isn't that just absolutely amazing?
Serendipity. How do you have a student number one recognize something like that?
Were you yourself shocked when he stepped on this and said, there's something here, I can't get it out?
I was about, maybe 20 yards away, a little over 100 feet. He hollers at me, he says, look at this. He holds up up something, and I kind of make some flippant remark that I now kind of like get back to work, put that down until I realized what he's carrying out. So you don't give me kudos for this. This
well,
is
how
Judd.
did you even recognize it as a tooth and a tusk?
Judd is an outdoors man, outdoors, and he's now, he went to Western. He's now along the Gulf Coast. I understand that he's working with a little bit of the Gulf cleanup. So,
is that right?
Here's a very special.
He's an environmentalist to the nth degree, isn't he?
And he had a family that appreciated that.
Yeah.
He had the idea of being able to recognize things like antlers and tusks and teeth. And because we had talked about it, he even told me that he dreamt about it for 2 days. And he said he expected to get up the next day, go to my lab, along with all the other students that were doing tasks, and find something. So as a scientist, I don't know how to explain that.
No.
But I when he held it up, he told that he knew it wasn't a log. He thought it was a log at first. These are very log-like, but he looked at the end. It broke up into 3 major pieces. Now, since then, we've found bits and pieces of the second tusk.
Have you?
3 months later, went out and found a big part of the upper jaw with a tooth in it. 2 years later, I went back and did some more excavations right there in the middle of the creek and found the other part of the upper jaw. We have a really nice... it's a compilation of bones of the upper jaw. Now, the brain case has been shattered, probably bits and pieces over thousands of years. We don't know where the rest of the body is. It might be 10 feet away underneath good old Illinois farmland that is about 15 feet thick. But we'll have to wait for the creek to cut into it if it's going to. But Sugar Creek is special, just talking about that creek and the
That's amazing.
tusk. Yes.
I was going to ask you, what sort of terrain was it when the mammoth lived here? Did you think, judging from the pieces that you found, was it water then? Was it bog? What was it?
Excellent. Boy, I wish I could have you in class.
All right.
You brought up what I would think the next step is. I would think geologists and people interested in rocks and fossils and even biologists, the object is not all of that important. It's the story it tells. So somebody can hand me a rock or a fossil, I can tell it what it is, but it represents an entire environment. So if you go back to the old stereotype environment, which I use all my information from Ice Age movies, if you go watch your Ice Age 1, 2, and 3, you'll find that the mammoths are sitting right there next to this glacier that's coming through, and it's a glacier associated and cold. And so kind of the scientists, when we first found the tusk before it was dated, we were just kind of guessing this tusk is going to be when the last glacier was here, which was about 120,000 years ago. And then there was another time of glaciation, not too far away, was about, say, 25,000 years ago. So our money was kind of on, it's probably a 25,000. The mammoth was just by this glacier. Well, it turns out it was only 11,000. The glacier's 300 miles away, closer to Chicago at that time, 11,000 years ago. So that got them to thinking, well, what's in this environment? Well, in that same strata with the tusk, we brought out spruce logs and ash logs. It was a forest. Now, we believe it was a braided stream. These are very shallow streams that come from the glaciers further up north, hundreds of miles, draining. So it's not Sugar Creek that he died in at all. So that's amazing that you would recognize that. There would be a new environment, shallow streams, a lot of water, a little bit colder winters, but could even have drier summers than we have now. And here was this mammoth, which we would assume living with other mammoths, living in a completely different environment. And that's what the scientists have jumped on. They've gotten all these pollen samples and describing an environment that's very new to science.